I mean, for my grandpa, there's this consequence. He can never go back to Laos. His name is listed, let's say, as a refugee, you know. So when someone is hurting you and someone is giving you not a good feeling and you always feel sad or frustrated when you met this person, I think it's totally fine and also okay when you say, hey, I'm happy without this person. I think toxic mindset, also emotional abuse by saying, but you have to obey them, you have to listen to them. No, you don't.
Hello สวัสดีค่ะทุกคนค่ะ Welcome to THAISPORA, the video podcast about the stories of the Thai and diaspora communities in the West. With me, I have Khoulap. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm great. Actually, I'm happy that it's weekend, to be honest, and yeah, so that I can do the fun stuff, let's say. So I was very looking forward to do the podcast episode with you. And yeah, thank you for having me on your podcast today.
Yeah. Have you eaten anything yet?
To be honest, I had lunch, chili con carne with rice and banana bread as a dessert. And then I took a nap before our episode, to be honest. Yeah, a little small nap.
Yeah, it means so you are well rested.
Of course, of course.
So today's episode will be a bit different from the previous ones. Normally, I cover stories of the Thai diaspora on THAISPORA. However, I have realized that in the German and European media landscape, stories of people with a Southeast Asian background aren't well represented. Therefore, I thought I'd like to explore the stories and aspects of other Southeast Asians living in the West, as most regions in Southeast Asia share similar history, similar culture, as well as power dynamics. Moreover, by relating Thailand to its neighboring countries, I'm certain that we can also gain new perspectives. I hope I can start a special series on THAISPORA with Southeast Asian narratives here, and I'm happy and thrilled to have Khoulap with me, so that we can discuss Thai and Lao diasporic aspects, such as growing up in the West, especially in Germany, where we both grew up, and share our experiences.
Yeah, thank you for this wonderful introduction, to be honest. Yeah, I fully stand behind your mission and vision, let's say, of your podcast. I think we talked about this before when I discovered your podcast on Instagram. I texted you immediately that I found your content kind of inspiring and also relatable, growing up in Germany but having immigrant parents, what kind of impact that has on our daily life and also personality. And yeah, I'm happy to share also my stories and experiences with you. And I'm a fan of THAISPORA, so yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also a fan of your Khouliconnects, because Khoulap is also the podcast host and producer, and she's doing everything for Khouliconnects actually, which covers personal stories and topics such as lifestyle and mindset. Before we get into Khoulap's story and get to know about her, don't forget to like, subscribe the channel here. This would tremendously help THAISPORA podcast. And you can also find Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee link down below in the description, where you can also become members and have access to more content of what I'm doing and of THAISPORA. Thanks you, and let's get back to you. Before I ask you serious questions, I have a little breaking the ice round with every guest, so that we and the audience can get to know you more. Is that okay with you?
Of course, I'm open. No risk, no fun. Go for it.
Okay. I'm attracted to people who have or are, and you have to fulfill the sentence.
Oh, wow. Okay, I did not expect that. What? I'm attracted to people who are down to earth, and humble. I have actually specific people, in my mind. I think specifically friends, but also maybe people who I've worked with or mentors I have met during my journey, let's say. And I think, yeah, everyone has actually, I think, a story in their life or also experiences that they had been through. And I think it's really inspiring when people are still down to earth and humble, let's say, down to earth in a way. I'm just being myself. I'm also drinking the same water and I don't know, going to the toilet as well as other people. It doesn't matter what kind of position I have or job title, if I'm a CEO, partner, senior manager, or whatever. It doesn't matter. So I think I'm, yeah, let's say attracted to people who are down to earth, also humble and just being themselves and not trying to imposter or trying to prove something. Yeah, I think if that makes sense.
Yeah, we live nowadays in a society where achievement means almost everything, and it's actually inevitable to not pose and to I think like to lie about certain things, even if you are like writing your CV or like doing job interviews. I think a lot of people aren't super 100% honest because they are under pressure and they want to achieve jobs or achieve a career. So it's a bit difficult to, I would say, like in the Western society, to be super humble.
I think I read it in a book from Jay Shetty, Think Like a Monk, the ego as well. I think your own ego plays a big role as well in your character, how you act and behave. And I think some people are more aware of their own ego, some are not. And yeah.
All right, next sentence. People assume that
I think people assume that I'm an optimistic and positive person, I think.
And are you in real life an optimistic and positive person?
To be honest, I try to most of the times. I think, of course, I also have days where I think everything is like shit and yeah, and then I doubt myself. Of course, I also have days where I think, am I good enough? Can I do this? Maybe other people are better than me, or maybe that I sometimes also compare myself at work. But I think in general, I try always to see the best out of every situation. I think also by going through a lot of moments in life where I had to build my own resilience, where I had no choice, to be honest. And that's why I think I always try to see a solution or make the best out of every situation, because either you go downwards and you just see everything extremely pessimistic, or you say, hey, it's the situation. I mean, you have to accept it, but you can always adapt your mindset, right? So
in Germany, I've never experienced.
I think I have an example, a specific one actually. I lived in Singapore for a while, for almost 7 months. So I lived and worked there from 2019 till 2020. So I realized in comparison to Germany, I think one thing is that I've never experienced is convenience. Because in Germany, everything is like regulated. You have so many laws for every kind of step. And I think people maybe who have been to Asia most of the time, I mean, they know Grab, right? You have Grab food, you have Grab Eats. It's kind of like Uber. You have MRT, which is so convenient, like the system, the metro system. And I don't know, I've experienced that convenience is like a key in Singapore. So when I went back in Germany, it was like, oh my God, I have to take that train connection. When I go to the city hall, I have to make an appointment by phone and I have to wait 3 weeks till I get an appointment. So many rules and regulations. So I would say convenience, but also I think the understanding maybe of having different religions and cultures. And what I mean by that is, for example, in Singapore, you have a lot of people from India, Malay, because it used to be part of Malaysia. So it's really mixed. So the children, they learn already Chinese and Malay from kindergarten in elementary school. So when we had lunch at work, it was very normal that also halal food was ordered. So it was no discussion or anything. So it was part of it that on the buffet of the, let's say, work event, that there was, for example, halal food. So most of the time when you have German company events, it's already decided what there is, but it's not, let's say, religion or diversity is not really considered because it's, I think, a different culture and society. Yeah, so...
Yeah, this is quite an interesting point because if you are traveling in Germany, you don't see many different kinds of religion in the public. I mean, maybe you have like one Jewish synagogue or like a mosque, but predominantly you see churches because of course Christianity is like the dominant religion here. But other religion and other cultures aren't that represented in the public, I would say. Even if you're in Berlin, which is also quite a diverse city compared to other German cities, you have like few spots where you can find this kind of diversity, but in other cities, not that much, I would say.
Like you were saying, for example, in Düsseldorf, of course, it's well known for the Japanese street and Korean food and Japanese food. Still, it's like, let's say, not a standard that you have in a school that different languages are taught. Yes, we can choose, let's say, French or Spanish, but I think it's still interesting that it starts already from kindergarten, for example, in Singapore, that you learn already Malay, or that it's normal for you when you see different children, wearing different clothes or so.
Next sentence. I feel home when.
This is an easy one, but also a nice one. I feel home when I have my closest people around me. So it doesn't matter if I'm living in Singapore, if I'm living in Germany, in the Netherlands, in Laos, or somewhere else, as long as my boyfriend or my best friends or my brothers close to me, it doesn't matter. That's what I also learned by the time, that people make my home.
Yeah, that's a lovely way to put it. I'm immediately turned off by.
Yeah, I also go very deep into that in my own podcast when it comes to my family relationships, especially regarding my dad or like specific family members. And I'm turned off by emotional abuse and also a toxic mindset. Everyone has difficult relationships with their family. If not, hey, you are blessed. I'm happy for you. But in my case, it is really that there's always this argumentation that, yeah, but it's, for example, it's your dad and it's your family. You cannot say anything against your family or your parents, and they are the highest and you are not allowed to. And when someone is hurting you and someone is giving you not a good feeling and you always feel sad or frustrated when you met this person, I think it's totally fine and also okay when you say, hey, I'm happy without this person, no matter if it's your dad, uncle, sister, brother. I think toxic mindset, also emotional abuse by saying, but you have to obey them, you have to listen to them. No, you don't. And it's okay as long as you are happy and as long as you have a healthy relationship. So
I totally agree with you that this kind of hierarchy or classicism is very strong in Asian societies. There's also like this saying, maybe it's like also similar in Laos, that elder people deserve respect. Even if they do mistakes, you don't see these mistakes. You only see them as like a higher person, so you have to obey them.
And it's also when you don't respect your parents, you're gonna have bad luck.
Yeah.
And so you're cursed.
Yeah. Cursed for life.
Yeah.
Shame. Shame.
As a Lao woman in Germany, I feel.
My God, you're asking questions or sentences I've never thought about. I feel proud, but also lonely. What do I mean by that? Proud because if my grandpa and my grandma wouldn't have made that decision in the 70s to left Laos and to start a new life in Germany, my brother and I, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be even born. So I feel very proud that because a previous generation, they prepared this, they made this step, to create a foundation so that I have a life here.
Yeah.
Because when I'm traveling to Laos, I also appreciate it more when I saw, wow, what life looks like there and what women in my age are doing in that moment, that they have several kids, are married already, working on a field, selling food on a night market, street market. I feel proud. I feel proud and also blessed that I'm growing up here and that I was born here, but also sometimes lonely, because I think due to immigration, because of war and that having parents being refugees, of course people are separated over the entire world, right? So I feel there are not many Lao people, let's say, in Germany. I think there are other groups which are more presented, let's say, but I think a Lao community is very a niche. And when I meet friends, the first thing that they say to me is, oh wow, you're my first Lao friend, to be honest, or the first person that I've met who has a Lao background. Yeah, I think it's something special, but sometimes you also feel lonely because you don't have a community where you can immediately connect.
I gotta be honest, I don't know many people from Laos. Actually, you are like the first person that I meet who is actually from or has like heritage from this country. But most of the Southeast Asian people that I've met so far are from Vietnam or Indonesia.
I mean, that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, I mean, when you ask people, they are saying, "Oh, you're the first person I know," and I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, hey, that there's one person out there who's like representing it,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, last sentence. I associate Laos with.
I associate Laos with hospitality, humbleness, and also nature, but also laid back vibes, I would say. Because when you are growing up in Germany with the perfectionism, everything is structured, you have to be on time, and everyone wants to do everything perfect, so many regulations. But in Laos, it's more laid back, less rules, and people are so easy. They are more at ease, It's like, yeah, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work out. Yeah, I mean, the flight is leaving at 10, but it's enough when we arrive 9:30, at the airport. And for Germans, it's like, oh my God. Although they don't have a lot, I think although it's still one of the third world country, let's say, or at least not the most developed country in comparison to its neighbors, for sure. But yeah, making the best out of it, what they have, I would say.
I gave you like a little homework on also for myself that we would bring our favorite snacks, your favorite snacks from Laos and my favorite snacks from Thailand. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the one that I was actually searching for, but I found this. What's the name again? Tong Muon. Tong Muon. This is like these Thai crispy rolls. These are actually like coconut.
Okay, yeah.
Like made with rice starch, I guess. Yeah, rice starch and coconut milk. And they come with different flavors. And I have the one with
Oh, I know this
pandan.
one. It's yummy.
Yeah, and it's super crispy.
Oh my God, I love pandan.
Yeah,
Yay.
it's my favorite too. I'm not sponsored by the brand. Actually, I bought this with my own money. But I really love this kind of crispy rolls.
I don't have it physical here because for one reason they don't have it in the Asian supermarkets. Like you cannot buy it here. But maybe you know it as well. I can describe it, or maybe it's called khao nom kok. It's a coconut custard cake. So maybe you also know it from Thailand, from the street market. So it's wrapped in a banana leaf, but it looks like small pancakes, which you can also buy in the Netherlands. They call it poffertjes, mini small pancakes, but they're made out of coconut milk. This is my favorite snack, to be honest, when I'm in Laos, like the small coconut pancakes.
Oh, that sounds super tasty. You mentioned that your grandparents moved from Laos to Germany in the 1970s. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
How come? So what was their motivation to migrate to Germany?
To be honest, I also didn't know about the story for a long time because when I was a teenager, my dad never told us about it, or either my brother and I asked questions about it. I think as teenagers, we didn't have that understanding and interest to ask our parents about our story and our roots. But I think by turning 30 and end of 20s, I started to think more about the family history and was more curious about it and to ask. So I asked my grandpa and my uncle, and they told me my grandpa was a mechanic at the military base, but for the airplanes. So he was repairing airplanes for the military. He was working there as a mechanic, and he was working overseas quite a lot. So he was working in America, in Singapore, and then also in France, I think. When he realized that Laos is going to be communistic, let's say, that there's going to be a change in the system, in the country, due to the Vietnam War as well, he decided that he wants to fly with the entire family and to go to another country and to start a new chapter, because he had the feeling that there's a huge change coming, and he did not wanted that for his children, you know. He wanted to be somewhere else. So, and also the question, why Germany, why not another country, right? Because a lot of Asians also go to America, a lot of Lao people go to France because it used to be a colony of France. The decision is quite simple, because the non-profit organization, das Deutsche Rote Kreuz, was there, and they talked to my grandpa, and they said, we have a lot of capacity in, let's say, in the west of Germany, in a small city. If you want, we can take you by tomorrow already. So that's how my grandpa decided then, okay, why not taking then all the children, because they were 7 in total, right? So you have to find a country where they can take 7 children plus 2, in total 9 people. Yeah, so, and he also knew there's insurance in Germany, social help, social support system for children, for insurance and everything. And that's why he decided, okay, then we're going to go to Germany.
If you consider Vietnam War, I think like the immediate image that comes in mind is Vietnam boat people, like people, refugees traveling or like migrating to the West to get to safety. But I've got always the impression that the neighboring countries such as Cambodia and Laos are like more in the shadows, or they've been neglected when it comes to the narrative of Vietnam War. Because I was reading a bit about Lao history, because for example, I studied Asian studies, but mostly like focusing on Thailand and mainland Southeast Asia, but you don't find a lot about history of Laos and about Lao people, except maybe if you go to Vientiane or to Luang Prabang, to these universities, and to go study there. But besides that, it's in the West, it's very underrepresented. How do you feel about the history or like the narrative of Laos? Or do you think that Vietnam War is kind of like a stigma when it comes to Lao people?
Yeah, I think this is a really huge topic, let's say. I think the Vietnam War is a own topic for itself, because it's very broad. To be honest, when I was younger, I also didn't know all the history about Laos and in detail, because when you research or books or even in school, you know, it's not taught what happened in other countries. So even like the topic of Vietnam War was not really discussed in my high school in the past into detail. There's also, I don't know, maybe I have to look for the link on YouTube with the documentary, The Secret War, which was like done by the Americans within Laos, you know, against the Vietnamese people. And also there's like this statistics that Laos is one of the most bombed countries in the world, you know. I mean, it's like crazy to me. And also when I traveled there and went to museums, and I see still that there are bombs left in the rice fields, and still people has to search for it, to look for it, so that children don't run into it or have disease from it, you know. And there are specific parts which are still bombed, which you cannot enter till today as a tourist. It's a crazy feeling when you realize, wow, that your grandpa and your grandma were so brave to make that decision and to say, hey, we're gonna go out and we can do it. I mean, for my grandpa, there's this consequence. He can never go back to Laos. His name is listed, let's say, as a refugee, you know, so he betrayed his military base. So I think I also feel sorry for this country, and also when you know the history. But I think you can also see the steps that they're trying to develop, that they're trying to have this China train by now, and that they're trying to be more open and letting more tourists in. But still, in comparison to its neighbors, Vietnam, and Thailand, Laos is still very underdeveloped and underrated. I mean, China is the helping brother at the moment in Laos, financing everything. The train, Chinatown is there, so they are very, very dominant. And also the currency, the Lao currency, which is Gip, has very like going down. So in the past it was €1 was 10,000 gib, and when we went there €1 was 24,000 gib, so double. So the currency is so weak at the moment, so inflation is crazy. Maybe it's for them the only way to get out, I don't know. But it's also sad to see when you travel there and you see the impact of other stronger countries now.
If you're regarding mainland Southeast Asia, there's always like these powerhouses such as Singapore, then Thailand and Vietnam, and you don't consider Laos as a serious country, so to say. Back then, I studied abroad in Bangkok, and I heard from my fellow students who came from the West, such as like France or like other European countries, and they would also travel to Laos because it's so cheap there, and they can go traveling there. And there's also like a backpacker scene as well. So Laos is well popular, especially for younger tourists, just to go there, explore the country, and also like go solo traveling there, because it's also safe for women, for example, like to travel alone.
Always when people are asking me, where are your parents from, or where are you coming from, let's say, or where are your roots? When I was younger in high school or elementary school, and I told them my parents are from Laos, in the beginning of 2000s, you know, everyone was like, where's Laos? Is this a city? Do you mean Lagos? Is it a city? Where is it located? And no, it's a country. Even though, like you were saying, it's so close to Bangkok, you know, it's like just one flight, like 1 hour flight away, or even a night train. And it's crazy. And I think now when I talk to people in 2024, it's more known now because of social media and backpacking.
Yeah.
And now people know Laos. It's like, oh yeah, I know Laos. Oh yeah, I know Lao food.
If you go to Isan, which is the northeastern region of Thailand, you will also find people from Laos and the Lao language, and in the Isan dialect, sounds like a little bit similar. So maybe I'm wrong, I'm not really super sure, but the Isan dialect is also like similar to Lao language, and you can also find Lao food. There's dishes, for example, like som tam or lap, for example, are actually Lao invention. So it's actually not 100% Thai, but most people think it's Thai because it's like within like the Thai borders, but actually it isn't. It's actually Lao.
I remembered when we were at New Year's, let's say New Year's Eve's events here in Germany with my parents and their friends. It was called Bun Pi Mai, and there were also Thai people as well, so it was like with Thai and Lao people. Sometimes my parents, when they introduced me to aunts or uncles, you know, this typical phrase like, yeah, they know you since you were born, and like, why don't you remember? And like, yeah, how can I remember, because I was a baby? So but always like, oh yeah, you know this aunt, you know this uncle, they know you, yeah, of course they know me. But I don't know them. They were also saying like, yeah, they are Isan, or like from the northern part. And for me as a child, it was like, hey, what do you mean by that? Like, I don't know.
And how did your parents meet?
They knew each other already from high school. So my mom's family was completely in Laos, and my dad's family was completely in Germany. So my dad came to Germany when he was 15 years old, so a teenager, and my mom was still in Laos. So my dad was living in Germany for a while already, and then he went back to Laos, proposed to her, and then she came when she was, I think, 24, 23. She came then alone to Germany out of love for him, let's say. And then they got married in Germany, and then I was born, and then my brother was born.
How was it to grow up in Germany for you?
Yeah, when I was in school, there was always this typical question, how do I pronounce your name? Khoulap, is it a female name, a male name? Where do your parents come from? And when I was in the kindergarten already, I was also, let's say, confronted with racism already and kind of mobbing. There were children who were asking me, do your parents eat cats and dogs? And making fun of my name and ching chong and ni hao and all that stuff. So it started already kind of early in the kindergarten. So I was really like a shy child and very introverted. I never said anything about it because I didn't know what to say. And then in high school, also being the smallest and only Asian child as well, having a different name, I never felt different, but due to the fact that I look different and that I have a different name, I was already different for many people, but in my heart it was like, hey, I was born and raised here, you know, where's the difference? But of course there was a difference, right? So yeah, so a mixture of mobbing a little bit, but also not being confident with my own heritage and with my own roots.
Hey, this is a message from Future Paco, aka Dating Paco. I just realized that at this point my footage was gone, so it didn't fully capture my recording somehow, but it did capture mostly the recording from Khoulap's side. I recorded at a small hut somewhere in the suburbs of Berlin, and somehow the Wi-Fi was pretty bad and awful, so that's the reason you won't see me in the next minute, but have fun with Khoulap.
It went the other way around. As a teenager, I was more ashamed, to be honest. I always wished that I had blonde hair, blue eyes, that I was lighter, you know. And when I saw, you know, on TV Barbie and Sailor Moon and everything, and also my friends, you know, which were all white, let's say, in a small town, I always wished that I had an easier name. My dad was really strict by saying we have to talk Lao at home all the time. There was no, let's say, exception. So when we were at home, like, we have to speak Lao, and even with him we have to speak Lao, and with my mom. My dad was completely fluent in German, so when he spoke German there was no accent at all. But my mom, of course, she struggled till today learning and to speak German. So with my mom we talked Lao all the time, but my dad was really forcing it that we have to speak it. But the other side was that in school, that I was like the only one who was very far behind when it came to reading and writing in German class. So from that moment on, I rented a lot of children books in the library. My dad made me this library card so that I could rent many children books. And I was really practicing reading German. And also my elementary teacher, she was also giving me extra lessons for the children who are, let's say, less developed is the wrong word, but maybe not in an advanced level as you should be. And that's how my German improved by the time. But there was also this downside of speaking Lao at home, but then being far behind in comparison to the other children in German, you know. I think since Laos is not that represented, to be honest, and not that known for many people. I mean, by now with backpacking and social media, yes, but for example, for China, for South Korea, for Japan, let's say Japan, maybe it's the manga, anime, you know, or maybe for South Korea, it's K-drama, K-pop. But I think for Laos, there is no specific or typical characteristic, I would say, since it was so underrated, let's say, or underrepresented all the time. To be honest, I never experienced stereotypes regarding Laos because of the situation that Laos is so underrepresented. I think you can see it in a good way, or either you can see it in a bad way, because then the country is so on a low radar that it's not immediately in people's head and mind. The funny thing is, a few months ago, I did a podcast episode on Khouliconnects with a friend who has parents from Vietnam. We talked about children memories growing up in Germany but having parents from a different country. What my parents really did well was bringing Laos to Germany and also integrating the Lao culture into our family, although Laos was so far away, right? Living in a country with 4 different seasons, different timeline and temperature. I remember as a child, every weekend we went to family events, family parties where we met other Lao people, Lao friends from my parents who immigrated with them as well. So there was this small community, let's say. So we had like the Bunt Bi Mai, the New Year's Eve's party gatherings. There was a lot of karaoke, of course, whiskey, wine for my parents, spicy papaya salad when they were drunk. So I think those weekends were very special to my parents because during the week, you know, they were at work, were working with German colleagues, speaking German. The gatherings in the weekends were for them like kind of a safe space, but also bringing Laos to Germany, you know, and to just have Lao people around them. Yes, I started with Khouliconnects 2 years ago. My first episode was published on 1st of November 2022. And I've started this podcast when I got burnt out, to be honest. During that time, I was working in a big consulting company and I was jobless for a couple of months. And I like to listen to podcasts during my free time a lot, and I'm very interested in listening to podcasts, and I thought, hey, why not sharing my own experience and my own story by going through a burnout and growing up in Germany but having Lao parents. I've never found a podcast in that direction before. Not, I think, in Germany, let's say. I mean, there are a lot of Asian American podcasters out there when it comes to Asian stories in general, but I didn't found a niche, let's say, or someone who was talking about, having Lao parents, you know, or even about Laos. I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials during that time, and then I just bought a microphone and watched YouTube tutorials, and then I started Khouliconnects.
I really love to listen to your podcast because it feels so down to earth and very humble, and the way how you navigate these stories. And I really like the story, the sticky rice story that you mentioned. Maybe you can tell a bit the audience what's actually about the sticky rice.
The sticky rice story. So when I was in elementary school, I think I was 7, 8 or 9 years old, and we had this homework from our teacher, to an art homework, let's say. And for this homework, I needed glue to make this homework, and it was Sunday. And for those who don't know, Sundays in Germany, everything is closed. No stores open, you cannot buy anything. I had to make this homework and glue something and on paper. And then I asked my dad, and I was like, do we have like a glue or a stick here? I have to make something for school tomorrow. And he was like, no, but we have sticky rice. And also... And also the rice noodles, maybe you know them in Laos, they are called khao bun. And then he was like, we have sticky rice and we have rice noodles. And I mean, as a child, you are so innocent, right? You believe everything what your parents are saying. And I was like, okay. Yeah. And then I took the sticky rice and I took my paper and then I was like, and gluing the paper together with sticky rice. Then on Monday, I handed in my homework. I was so proud. I was like, here, I did the homework. I mean, practically, I did the homework, right? I did it. And then the teacher, she was saying, why is your paper so strange? Like, it's so corny. Like, there's something beneath it. And I was like, I use sticky rice. and the teacher was thinking, oh my God.
How do you navigate between your Lao side and your German side in your day-to-day life, in your daily life?
I can say that my parents, for example, they are, for once, they are divorced and they do not live in Germany anymore. So that means that my parents are both living in Laos. That means I cannot speak with my parents or even with my mom in Laos on a daily basis anymore. I think similar to your case, when it comes to moving out and not living at home anymore, then you don't speak or eat Lao food as common as it used to be in the past. But when it comes to integrating Lao culture into my daily basis, or like in Germany, visiting my grandparents, to be honest. So when I visit my grandma or my grandpa, that gives me a lot, because then I get to eat Lao food. I get to talk in Lao with them just the entire day. Sometimes when I also FaceTime with my mom, then of course with the time difference. But when it comes to Lao food or cooking, I'm not an expert in cooking Lao food, to be honest. Like I can do fried rice and fried noodles and ramen, but that's it. But like real Lao dishes, my brother is more the expert. So when I'm starving Lao food, I just visit my brother and he cooks it for me.
Yeah, that's super convenient.
Oh.
So my parents are actually from like Bangkok, or like from the Bangkok area, and normally people from big cities in Thailand don't cook normally because you have food everywhere. There's always street vendors at every corner, and you can get food at any time, anywhere. So there's also like 7-Eleven, which is like a convenience store chain, very big in Southeast Asia. There you can get your food. And my parents don't cook actually, so they can cook, but I would say they cook awfully. Sorry, but that's really true. And when I lived alone for the first time, I began to, of course, to cook because I have to eat. And I also experimented with Thai food and Thai ingredients. Through this process, I taught myself how to cook these Thai dishes, and I also watched a lot of YouTube videos how to stir-fried noodles or how to do certain dishes. And I realized, there's actually more about Thai food than Thai curries and pad Thai.
Oh my god, I really, really love Thai food. And I mean, it's really spicy, right? But Lao food is also spicy as well.
We are almost at the end of our episode because I need time to edit all of this. My last question is, which advice would you give others who grew up between cultures and who were struggling with their identity? Which advice would you give them?
My advice would be, and especially when I think about my younger self, don't be strict on yourself. Also be patient, and it sounds so typical, but trust the process. It's in the beginning, it seems hard when you think, wow, where do I belong? Is it this country or the other one? Maybe I'm not 100% Lao, maybe I'm not 100% German or 100% Thai or 100% German. It can go different ways, but you don't have to. You don't have to decide, I am German, I am Lao. You still have the choice to say, hey, why can't I be both? I cannot say I'm 100% German, but either can I say I'm 100% Lao. I'm something in between, but that's totally fine for me. So don't see it as a weakness to say, hey, I don't really belong anywhere. Be proud and be blessed and thankful that you have both. I mean, so many people, they say, for example, when I lived in Singapore, they say, wow, you're so lucky, you are Eurasian. And I was like, what do you mean? And back in Germany, I think I'm so lucky to have both. And I think now it's a privilege. I mean, look at your podcast, talking to other people, sharing stories in English and German. I think it's a privilege that we can do it, right?
I think we should also aware that we are privileged. If I see like people from Thailand or from Laos who grew up with less, actually, might not share like this same mindset or so, or have like the same access as we have. And I feel also thankful for being here, that I had the chance to grow up in Germany, because in the past I thought, why I'm here, why I'm in this cold country where no one understands me, and why do I have to speak this really harsh, strong language, which I cannot understand. But there he does all the grammar. Oh my gosh. Kill me with this grammar. But through these years, I realize I'm also in the same position as you, that I'm between these spaces, like between these cultural spaces. You can make your own decisions about your own identity and how you feel about that. Even if your parents are, for example, Thai or Lao, you don't need to feel obligated to be one of them, so you can choose your own identity.
I would also like to thank you, like, for inviting me for your podcast and also for supporting me in my podcast journey as well. And I think this is the one beautiful story of like having social media and also connecting with other people you would never maybe connected or maybe even met in real life, you know. So meeting other podcasters and just keep going with your podcast and THAISPORA. I think there are a lot of people who maybe can also relate with their topics as well. And even if not, then you create an awareness that they learn about it and that they know about it. So just keep going. I'm also looking forward maybe to another episode coming soon.
Yeah.
Maybe. Just stay tuned. Yeah, and in Lao we say Khop Chai.
Oh, in Thailand we say Khop Khun Naka. But if people have questions regarding Laos or to Khouliconnects, how can folks reach out to you?
You can find me first of all on Instagram, Khouliconnects, where Paco and I have also met through Instagram. Otherwise, on all podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, you can find Khouliconnects there. But I think easiest way, just reach out, DM on Instagram. And if you're open for a podcast episode or maybe wants to explore more, then feel free to listen to episodes of Khouliconnects.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Khoulap, for your time and for sharing your stories. And thank you so much to you guys outside for listening to this very end. I hope you hear us soon in the next episode. And Khop Chai or Khop Khun Mak Naka.
But it's called a badag. Genau. Ja. Genau, I watched it. Papaya salad with papaya salad.
Okay.
Typical German. Genau.